Peace, peace, everyone. It's your girl Sequoia Blue back in here with another fun episode. We got a special guest today. We got Alexis in here, and she is a spiritual, intuitive advisor. And I
Mhm.
found this beautiful young lady on TikTok. She was speaking the truth, and I was impressed because I'm a somebody that believes in meanings and esoteric things. So, Alexis, like when you said, let's get into it, because when you said that
Okay.
the soul, like some people don't got no soul. And I know a lot of people grew up
Mhm.
and was like, you hear somebody in a movie or somebody be like, man, they ain't got no soul. They just don't have no soul. That's why they did these things, or you might say Jeffrey Dahmer, but other
Mhm.
people that just seem soulless. What made you want to talk to TikTok about that?
Okay. Well, let me first say I underestimated the impact of our words and my words and my reach on TikTok because for me, I spoke about it and I speak about a lot of the things that I speak about because it's normal for me. It's my regular life, and I know that because uh, I am a natural intuitive. I am a medium, and I've experienced so many things that I see the world in a different way. So I can't pick up the camera and talk about maybe other things that other people talk about because that's not my regular life. I talk about these things because this is what I see and this is what I know. And yeah, it created a way bigger impact than I expected. But I'm just speaking my truth when I make my videos, to be honest, and
I
seeing what
love
I
it.
see.
I love it because we have to be raw with it. And the
Hmm.
thing is, we have to be fearless because you never know who you're helping. And some people may not be familiar with it because,
Yeah.
I do believe that there's certain people that aren't conscious with their soul. Like they just, I mean, I don't want to say stoic is bad because there's times where some people do have to put their emotions to the side and handle
Yeah.
business. But I think that they just don't have some people just don't have a soul. They walk around soulless. And I think Dick Gregory spoke on this and he spoke on shape shifting and different things. But it's like, I'm a big fan of Dick Gregory. Rest in peace, Dick Gregory. You were a
Yeah.
goat. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just those things that um people need to be aware of because you got to be careful who you're hanging around with and who you're in a relationship with. And you have to be intuitive. But what do we do if people aren't intuitive about
Uh,
who somebody is or their spirit? That's the
well,
problem.
let me also say this about the statement because I had to turn my comments off on this video, but by reading everybody's comments, I realized one major thing. A lot of people aren't even in a state of belief that there are other types of species, other types of ways of being alive, other things going on. And I feel like, sorry, I won't move my hands so much. It got blurry,
No,
but
you're
I,
fine.
I feel like even just and on top of that, words are very spelled, meaning like when people hear words, they trigger into a certain emotion and sometimes don't even think about what the context is being said. So when I say like, not everybody walking around is human or there's some people that don't have a soul, I'm being very literal. Um, and I think at some point people will realize that truly not every human being is a human being. And this
Mhm.
doesn't dehumanize human beings because human beings are human beings.
Mhm.
But there's subtleties here. And this is also important. Yes, we, as human beings, because life is very difficult, there's mental health, there's triggers from trauma. And I've seen this doing, honestly, like thousands of readings. There are some people who don't know how to be expressive in their emotions because they never were raised with it. A lot of people don't know how, right, to human in that sense. And that doesn't mean that they're not human or soulless. So the first thing that's important is this statement is heavy and it comes with a lot of discernment to say that there are people walking around that may not have souls inside because you have to consider the factor of like all the things human beings that we have to go through, right? And
Mhm.
that's important to know. With that being said, I do truly believe, number one, the physical body is an avatar, it's a vehicle, it's a car, and our soul, our energy, the spirit within, that spark, this is what animates the body. And I think it's important to realize that some people's bodies
Mhm.
have different kind of things dipping in and out and going on.
Hmm.
Because the physical dimension is not the only dimension that exists. We have the astral plane, we have the spiritual plane, we have the quantum plane where you have, different just getting goosebumps, but there's
Hmm.
just different frequencies of realities that blend in and out of each other. I
Yeah,
can't, I'm grateful for this opportunity to explain the statement because it's hard to say all of this in a 3-minute TikTok video, right?
it
And
is.
that's how I realized it was a heavy statement. And some people were very like, whoa, 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 what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean? So yeah.
It's hard for most people to think out of the norm. They're so used to what's the normal mundane, go to school and go to work and go home, have a family. It's like they don't think, okay, what's really going on out here? Okay, we've seen documentaries of aliens and stuff like that. You've seen that did Gregory talk about shape shifting, and it's even
Hmm.
documentaries on shape shifting. But it's like people are like,
Well,
whatever. I
different
mean,
beings from different, right? You can
yeah,
even
and
say
different,
planets or realms, dimensions coming in,
yeah.
like you said, able to shapeshift, able to look human, then able to look
Hmm.
reptilian. And can I just say this real quick, not to get you off?
Oh,
The
say what
whole
you want.
reptilian thing. I'm
Yeah.
noticing that there's this propaganda that's being pushed and I've never heard of this until now, but that reptilian is actually referring to like eugenics and Hitler and
Mm-mm.
Jews, and it's a derogatory term, just things that are like that is
No,
not at all what
no.
the spiritual community, that's one thing I can say the spiritual community is in unison in. When we say
Yeah.
reptilians, we're talking about a reptile alien
Mhm.
species that is literally existing. That is what it's not I wish the world has discernment. I just wish it upon everybody. Like, come on now.
Yeah,
But
just
yeah.
think and then also just research because there's always some documentation on this. I mean, some might be kind of outworldly, but you read some of it and it is some real information on this stuff. And I think that's important because, but also the person has to be open minded. A lot of
Hmm.
people, what I've learned and is that they're not just not open minded about just businesses and entrepreneurship, but also about just spirituality and being
Yeah.
tapped in. And that's one of the things that I think could help the community because even for me, when I had my spiritual turn, I was like, whoa, I was like the Neo or something. I was like third eye
Yeah.
on. I was like, what? I didn't know I could do this stuff. And sometimes, you mess up
Hmm.
sometimes, you slip off your frequency, you get on this ebb and flow. But if you have at the core, you know what time it is, you can always get back. You're like, oh, I know why this happened. So I think it's important
Hmm.
for people to understand what's out here. You never know who you're talking to. And I remember years ago, I'm gonna say a quick story. I was probably like I was young as heck, but I was working for this guy and he was talking to me about we were in a Costco working, whatever. We were supposed to promote knives, and he was looking at this lady, this older lady, this black older lady at Costco, and she just looked kind of like she looked like she was successful upscale, but she was like looking our way, like I don't know if she was feeling our energy. But he said, "Oh, she's not from here, she's a."
Mm.
I said, "What do you mean?" I said, He said, "She's an alien." He said, "She's an alien. She's not from here." I said,
Hmm.
"What?" And I'm so open minded. I've always been left brain, right brain. I've always been somebody that's just curious. And I said, "Oh, okay." But it was weird because talking about discernment, I felt her energy, and I felt like she was not from here. So
Hmm.
when he said, and mind you, she was far away a little bit. She was over diagonal, a little further away across the aisle. She didn't hear us, but she was looking like she knew we knew.
Hmm.
And I found that
Hmm.
to be the deepest thing I've ever heard. I said, this was meant to happen for me to do this event this week because
Hmm.
it was only a week event for me to kind of start thinking about that. And I think that that's something that
Wow.
people should stay, yeah. Because that's when you said that, I thought about that moment and I said, that's what people should think about. Like,
But can I
there,
say
is
this?
there, yeah.
Even if, and I think this is also important too, just taking responsibility for, like I said, the comments that I read. It's also
Hmm.
important to know, let's say she was a true alien, she wasn't from here, she's a shapeshifter. As long as she's not turning up and doing no harm, it's like I think we have to all realize it's okay to be different. We're all different anyway,
Yes.
even down to our DNA. There's a
Yeah.
lot of information in our DNA that they don't give us or talk about.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there was a I noticed that there was a level of fear in the statement or just acknowledgement of talking that there may be different beings here. Just talking about
Mhm.
that, it invokes some level of fear. And
Mhm.
I find that so interesting that even from a macro level, right, aliens, to a micro level of just how we treat each other ethnicity wise. So what that we're different? It is okay.
So
As
what?
again, as long as
Yeah.
we're respecting each other, that's the beginning of,
Mhm.
I think, understanding actual love and unity, consciousness, right? Of
Yeah.
acknowledging, like, just because we're different, because just even saying, hey, there's different beings here,
Mhm.
created upset. And it was like, wow, some people just really aren't even,
Mm.
if they're not ready for that statement, how can you be ready for a state of like unity and love if you can't even acknowledge that, yeah, there's different stuff going on,
They
you
don't
know?
that's the thing. They don't want to acknowledge it. They wanna be safe in their little corner. And so, if anything's different, it's
Yeah.
like, "What the heck?" I mean, when I was in California 6, 7 years, of course, you had some people that were into the whole alien thing, would go to Vegas and wait out and stuff to see if the aliens would come. I met those people too, but there's a lot
I
of people
live
that
in Vegas. You can see the starships out here. And I'm from New York City where I didn't see no stars. You can see them out here. You can
I'm
see
in Vegas too,
anomalies
what?
moving. Oh, okay.
Okay, coffee twin.
Look at that. Look at
Represent
that.
Vegas, we gonna have coffee and talk about it.
You got a friend in me. Let's
Cause
go.
this,
That is
cause
awesome.
this is a lot of this is. I just moved to Vegas. I was in LA for 6 years, and I moved out here about, I would say about 2 years ago. I moved here, and I
Okay.
did it because hey, no state taxes. What's up?
Yeah.
California took a chunk out of my money, my bread, and I said,
Hmm.
you know what, Vegas, the traffic's great, everything's perfect here. I like Vegas. I
Yeah.
don't see what the problem is. I'm
It,
already,
it, it had to grow on me. It had to grow on me. But that's another
yeah.
story for
I
another
know, right?
day.
That's another day. But don't hate on Vegas, y'all. That's the point I'm
Yeah.
making. So, so when did you start your spiritual journey? When did you start realizing, okay, this is the Bible's not all there is. There's more to it. When did you say, what's
Mm.
up?
Um, my story, it starts honestly. It sounds cliche, but like I feel like from my youngest memories, I knew something was off or different with, not even with me, but where I was. I always felt out of place in time, so to speak,
Mm,
out of place, out of like, or in the wrong place. Nothing made sense to me. Like, why are y'all doing this? Why is this like this? Why are there homeless people? I couldn't understand what was going on here. But ultimately, when I was 13, I was depressed because of that, the load of just like being, I didn't realize at the time, but now I know. I started off with clairsentience or empathy, like extreme empathy. Being clairsentient, you could feel things, so I was overwhelmed. And at 13,
mm,
I tried to unalive myself, unfortunately. And that was actually the beginning of my clairaudience, when I started to hear information, because on that day when I was doing it, um I could just hear, like, yeah, that's not going to work, you're here for a reason, uh nothing you try is going to work. Like, a whole conversation was happening, and it was, and it, that within itself had me thinking that, okay, well, maybe I'm crazy. But I look back and I realized that was the beginning of my clairaudience, hearing information, channeling information. Then when I was 17, I started seeing random things. Like, I would be around my friends and I could see that in the morning they were arguing with their mom. And I could like hear what it was about, and I could feel the heaviness of my friend. And I'll be like, were you arguing with your mom this morning? And, well, how do you know that? It's like, well, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what was going on.
mm,
And I actually believed that I was schizophrenic. I started
mm,
looking up schizophrenia because I had the symptoms. I was hearing things. Like, there was no
mm.
denial about that. I always joke to people and I say, what's crazier, hearing voices or finding out that they're real? You know,
Ooh,
it was a lot. I didn't know what was going on. And
yeah.
my grandmother, who passed away at the time, I was crying to myself about it. The next morning, I kid you not, the next morning, I'm 17 years old. I get a phone call, and it's my grandmother. And she says, hey, I had a dream you were crying last night. Don't worry. Come to my
Mm,
house after school and I will tell you what's going on with you. And I was like, how did you know what? And
mm,
she's like, just come to my house after school. I've known my grandmother my whole life up until that point. I've never in my life seen her to be intuitive, to talk about things like that. we didn't even have a close relationship. She lived like 10 blocks away from me, but we weren't close. So this was bizarre. And when I went to her house after school, she explained to me that she had abilities. She knows that my mom has abilities, even though my mom doesn't talk about it. And I later learned my mom can dream things that come true. And she said, and I know that you have abilities. I'd never heard of this. I never
Wow.
really, it never crossed my mind that this is what was going on. And even though other people would say, like, are you psychic? Or they would call me Miss Cleo. I didn't know what was going on. Um, and then what's so crazy about it is my grandmother passed away like 2 weeks later after that. And so
Dang.
from that point, the seed was in my mind, like, well, maybe there's something deeper going on with this, but I never paid it attention because you have to, and this is now we're in like 2001, 2002. Um, by that time, because I'm growing up in New York, you want to be a normal person, right? It's
Yeah.
like no one wants to be different. No kid wants to
Hmm.
be different because you get made fun of. I was bullied. I was different. I looked different. I had glasses. They said I sounded white. All no one wants to be different.
Oh,
So I developed, you know, drinking. I started drinking. I started smoking. Um, and even though behind the scenes I was, you know, reading books and trying to learn and figure out what was going on with me, I lived life thinking something was broken. And I think a lot of intuitives out there, and if you're watching this and you're intuitive, it's normal to feel crazy
hmm.
because it
Yeah.
feels crazy. It feels crazy when you're feeling things that other people don't feel, or you're experiencing things through sight that other people aren't seeing or getting. Or again, you're clairaudient, you're hearing information.
Hmm.
Especially if you're surrounded by people who don't get it, or even if they do get it, they're not comfortable telling you, so they make fun of you. It's
Hmm.
normal. But yeah, and then fast forward, I moved to Vegas and got into a car accident when I was 27. So my stuff happened in stages. My stuff happened.
Mm.
I want to say I got abilities and I think I'm curious to see if this happened to you and anyone else. Does your
Hmm.
awakening happen? You know, I feel like it does, but does it happen with
Hmm.
trauma or some type of bang, right? Like I said,
Yeah, I did.
the universe doesn't wake us up in gentle tones of namaste. It wakes us up
Mm-mm.
with some type of, you
Oh
know?
yeah, it's something big that happened because that's what happened to me. That's how I woke up. That's how I went to the highest level. It was in California when I'm by myself for 6 years. No one to talk to like that. I'm an introvert anyway, but believe it or
Hmm.
not, but so it's like those things, So I can relate to you on that. Like it does just hit you. I went through a situation, and then at that moment, I was like, I'm not even the same Sequoia. Who was that? I'm a whole
and
new
and that's the
woman.
stages. Those are the
Yeah.
stages. You wake up in stages. When I went through my car accident, that's when the mediumship started. That's when I was starting to channel people, and I got to a point where I couldn't work a regular job. I was working direct TV. That was my last job, customer service. I was 27 years old, and or 26. I was 26 years old, and some old lady was yelling at me about her bill, and I just hung up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I hung up the phone and I went outside, and I remember thinking, like, okay, I gotta pay rent. I already know they're gonna fire me for doing that. I already know. And I just felt it all in me, like, listen, everybody says you psychic. Just see what you can do. And I went back inside. I applied for this like psychic hotline. I did that for like a couple of months. I realized I didn't like that because I
Mm.
don't like the structure of playing the game of what people think psychic is supposed to look like. I don't fit that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, here's a card. Here's the two of this. Here's this. Here, that shit. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That
Oh, no, you can cuss
annoys
on here.
me.
Mhm.
It annoys me so much because it's playing into a stereotype. And I think if you're actually intuitive, that means you're gonna vibe with how you do it, which means it's gonna be very unique because it's you and your intuition, you and your guys, whatever you do, whether you're a magical person,
Mhm.
whatever, it shouldn't look like what everybody else is doing.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
So I started my own business, and I said I'm going to do readings from my house, over the
Wow.
phone, because I didn't want to see anybody. My thing was this, right? Because I thought I was crazy. Remember, I carried that with
Mhm.
me, the drinking, the smoking, the thinking what was going on, the crazy shit with like crazy things were constantly happening in my life that were so unbelievable. It was making me crazy. So I needed to prove to myself that for real, this is real. This is real what I'm doing. So I made sure
Mhm.
I didn't see my clients. If they wanted it through video, I would turn my video on. That would make them feel more comfortable. But I would tell them, don't turn your video on. And I spent
Mm.
10 years doing readings that way. And my other key was it was through referrals, meaning I wasn't selling people. I didn't
Mm.
have ads. I wasn't marketing. My whole business was people referred me and my reviews.
Wow,
And
that's
that was
amazing.
the integrity that was important to me because
Mhm.
I know the shit that I say and what I experience is crazy. But I also
Mhm.
know now, almost 39 years old, that I'm not, that is very real.
Mhm.
And even though I can say things to people and they don't think it's true, I get it because they haven't lived my life. They haven't seen the things I've seen.
Mhm.
I know I'm not crazy.
Nope.
I
Nope.
know I'm not crazy. I spent my life proving that to myself, and I think that's important for others that are going through their journey. Not proving, it's not about proving to others if you're tapped
Mhm.
in.
It's not.
It's about going within yourself,
Yep.
asking yourself questions, reading, the universe is going to put things, or God, the
Oh, it's
universe,
gonna
Allah,
tell
whatever you
you.
believe.
It's gonna tell. It's gonna tell you the
But
answer,
yeah,
and that's what
that's
people
the
don't
short
understand.
story. That's the short
No,
story of
I
it.
love it. I mean, because I think this is a story that can help someone else that's dealing what you're dealing with and don't know what to do, and give up. Like, because sometimes people calling is not a job; it's to go and help people. Because you can feel energy through text message. You can feel a lot through people and tell them something. So it's not always, like I said, like you said, the traditional way of saying
Hmm.
things. And I think that's what people gotta learn because it's like that with everything.
Hmm.
Podcasting, music, all these things. So I think that we got to have more people that are disrupting the status quo of any said field, and I think that's important. So
Yeah,
I
you got to be brave. Let me tell you, because these the agent Smiths of this system will eat you up as soon as you show up. And I mean, even you'll see it even in your friendships. It's crazy. And
mm,
this is what I meant when I said how people can change and spirit can move through people. You'll have
mhm,
someone that you think like this is my best friend or this is my love, whatever. And as you change, you'll see something in them almost get very defensive and try to dim your light or push you out or not want you to elevate. And I don't feel that that's actually them organically. I feel like that's a system that's moving through them, that's trying to
I think so too. Sometimes I be.
submit you. But
And
that's
that's the
another
thing people
story.
got to be cognizant of is being careful who the heck you're speaking to. If you speak to someone, still respect them, love them, but understand that, okay, this is not helping my spirit. Something doesn't feel right, and have a distance. Take a distance. And sometimes you got to cut some people off, and that's okay. I've had to during my spiritual journey. I've had to let some people go, and it's not because they're bad people. It's because they don't understand my mission.
Yeah.
What I mean? And I can't deal with that because if I'm called to tell a word, I need to be able to do it purely and raw. Just like what you're doing. You're
Hmm.
you're you're saying it's purely and raw. But if you got somebody else in your circle as a husband, boyfriend, or homegirl, and they trying to talk in your ear and you ain't hurt
Hmm.
nobody, like what are you talking about? So those people you got to move on from. And sometimes
Yeah.
we outgrow people, and we can even outgrow our mentors. That happens too. I had somebody tell me that, and those things could happen. So I'm just happy that you were able to just go
Yeah.
out here and say, okay, I'm gonna continue the journey, and I'm gonna say, keep being raw, keep telling people like it is.
Yeah.
Just say, I tell myself I'm ready for the smoke.
But see,
I
I
can,
don't think I'm telling people. That's I think I'm
yeah,
just speaking passionately.
yeah,
To me, that's how I'm seeing it. I'm just
and
speaking
that's what it
passionately
is.
about something that I'm thinking. And I have to realize like the reach
Hmm.
of TikTok is phenomenal,
Man,
and it can
yeah,
happen quickly.
and
But yeah, we can even outgrow ourselves. When you were talking about outgrowing people, I think we also outgrow ourselves
heck yeah,
sometimes.
heck
And
yeah.
just like that, those stages I was talking about with my awakening, because it happened in stages. My awakening didn't happen. It started in 1998 when I was 13, but I want people to know that this is a long term thing. Like even channeling
Mhm,
spirit, they're still learning on the other side. So this
mhm.
awakening that we're all experiencing is so multi-layered. And I think
Yeah.
that's why when it comes to ego, we were talking off camera about ego and just that hero complex that we all can have at times. We also have
Hmm.
to remember we're still on the journey ourselves. We're always the student and the teacher, like at
Yes.
the same time.
Yes. I mean, I learn something new every day, rather it
Mm-hmm.
could be about spirituality, it could be at work, it could be, I don't know about myself. I'm like, oh, I realize I don't like that no more. I used to like this and I don't like
Mm-hmm.
it now. So, but it's also, you got to be aware of it though. Self-awareness
Yeah.
is a big thing right now. And I think being self-aware to know can help you in your future. So I like that you said that.
Mm-hmm. And that's a
And
part of that awakening too, the self-awareness.
yeah.
So many people don't even ask themselves. They'll like ask me like, well, who do you think? And that's normal, right? If I do a reading and someone's like, well, who do you think I'm supposed to be here on earth? And I would
Mm,
always, it's important for a person to know, like, that's for you to decide.
mm-hmm.
That is your power. That lies not with anyone else outside of you. And
Yeah,
we can be whoever we want to be. We may
we
feel
can.
there's people that feel like they're part of the Palladians, that feel like they're mermaids, that feel like there are people that have connections to memories and thoughts and
Or the
versions of
Akashic.
themselves.
Yeah.
Right, the Akashic records, feeling like they're from another
Hmm.
time. I don't feel like I'm from this time. I feel like I'm from I feel like I'm an ancient one
Me
walking,
too.
to be honest. So it's like we have to learn that
Hmm.
when we do become self-aware, the program that we were put in with this society, whatever society you're in whatever country, it's very different than the information that actually lies inside of you.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah,
when
it
you
makes
do
sense.
become self-aware, you start to realize that what lies within may be different than what you were told of who you are and who you're supposed to be and what
You know what?
life is
That's
supposed to look
true.
like.
I mean, that is so true. And once you get there, there's some type of like I would say happiness that can ensue to where you're not sitting there saying, "Oh, I got to be this person because they told me," or maybe because this person, my dad or whoever. You're like, I'm comfortable with who I chose to be. And that's when self-awareness
Exactly.
is so fruitful. And I think if people can get there, life would be so much better because you are whoever you say you are. You don't have to be Oprah to be, if it's entertainment or just anything. You don't have to be on Oprah to say
Mm-hmm.
who you are. You already did it. If you spoke to two
Mm-hmm.
people, you already did it. If only two people watch you, you did it because
Mm-hmm.
you helped somebody and you did what you felt in your heart. And that's the thing, and I think that's what I'm trying to like always try to help people with is that self-awareness so they can find
Mm-hmm.
some and be able to get through the hardships because this world ain't easy. So when you
Yeah.
become self-aware, it's easy to get through those roadblocks. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I know what to do. All right, this happened. Dang, but I know what to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I love it. I want to talk to you too about like sex magic. Like I had a girl stop talking to me about because I mentioned it to her. She stopped talking to me.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of us are magical beings, and but yeah. Now, sex magic has a lot of layers to it. What do you mean when you say sex magic? Like manifesting with
Well,
sex magic, or?
I think for me on the low, like the manifestation part, because at the time I was
Mm-hmm.
just learning about the manifestation part. I was watching a guy on YouTube. I think he's a very spiritual cat, and Ali. I think his name is S. Ali. He's really intuitive. He's really smart about his stuff. And I was watching him. I said, "This is interesting." And I was mentioning
Mm-hmm.
it to a homegirl back then. This was like probably 8 years ago, and she was like, "What?" Looking at me like I was crazy. She never talked to me again. But
Yeah,
I,
no, it's not even a taboo. It's not even taboo because when you release, when
Mhm.
when you release, right? Just think of it more so as energy. And that remember early when I said words are spelled, and when people hear certain words, they go to certain
Mhm.
thoughts and they're not even thinking about what's being said.
Yeah,
So you hear
yeah.
sex, right? And immediately you think like, oh, and then magic. Oh, that sounds bad. That sounds taboo. When really sex magic, especially when it comes to manifestation or taking even the word manifestation out, you wanting to make something happen, right? From the invisible to the visible, because
Mhm.
that's magic, right? Basically, you're
Yeah.
transmuting things from the ether into the physical realm, whatever you want, your will. Um, when you release after having sex, that is literal organic energy rushing out of you or moving
Mhm.
up through your body, right? So if you think about the kundalini, it's the same thing, but this energy is coming from your sacral chakra, like the organs that are associated like with men. It's like the lower half of your body.
Mhm.
So all of that energy, when you think about it, once it releases, and if you have your mind where your pineal gland is, right, your third eye,
Mm-hmm.
set on your intention, you already have the feeling. You have the energy rushing through you. That's literally like, it's like with Ghostbusters when that plasma, it's literal
Mm-hmm.
like an energetic charge
Yes.
that charges the vision,
Mm-hmm.
the emotion, and it's like poof, you put it out into the universe. That's really all it
Boom.
is. It's like a supercharged wish, and you're just using
Mm-hmm.
the energy that our bodies naturally make, whether you do it by yourself solo or with a partner. It's still kinetic energy. It's energy.
Yeah.
It's energy at pure form that you're not getting from someone outside of you. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why, and it literally creates, right? It creates life. It
Man, it
literally has the
does.
power to create literal
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
So it's very powerful. Whether you use the word magic or you use the word energy, potato,
Yeah.
potato, it's
It's a
valid.
real thing. It's a
It
real
is.
thing, and it's okay. I think people get so, like you were saying earlier, get so tied up with these titles and these words, and it's like it's just
Mm-hmm.
science, really. If you go in science, that's just what it is. I mean, because I believe in
Mm-hmm.
I believe in science, and also I believe in things unknown. I believe in both because this is, that's just
Yeah, they're
my thoughts
intertwined.
because they're intertwined. Yeah, and so some people be like, "What are you talking about?" No, it all goes with each other. They're dancing with each other because some things
Mm-hmm.
are not mutually exclusive. Like Jay Z mentioned that. Like people think something is exclusive. Like this is just that. No, things can go together.
Yeah.
So I like
Dr. Joe
that.
Dispenza is good when it comes to looking at the science side of things.
Mm.
He's an author. He focuses on like quantum physics and jumping into the quantum realm with your consciousness and healing your body. But he uses science to everything he says is like backed up through the science of the mind and brain waves. So yeah, if that's your interest, I highly recommend Dr. Joe Dispenza. Awesome, awesome
Oh
dude.
yeah. I think I know who you're talking about. Just yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think I watched him a few times. But yeah, y'all check
Yeah.
that out too. I'm a go back and check out some of his stuff. But yeah, I mean it's I think that this is something that needs to be taught, maybe broken down differently. Because like I said, it people gotta just be open minded. Um
Mm-hmm.
and then also, what are your thoughts on chakras? I had a guest the other day, he said he doesn't believe in chakras. What are your thoughts on chakras?
Again, chakras are just another word for energy centers of the body. I
Hmm.
definitely do believe in them because our physical bodies only exist because of our energetic bodies and then our emotional bodies. And so we're layers, right? When you go into a museum, for example, there's like anatomy museums, and you can see we have the muscular system, we have the skeletal system, we have the nervous system. So we have these different layers of systems that come together that make us. This is not just one thing. This is a layer of things, right? And so
Hmm.
we,
Hmm.
as a society, we don't include the energetic body in that group, right? Because we only acknowledge what we physically see, even though what we physically see isn't all that exists. We know that because of air. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you don't have to physically see it to know that it exists. So I say that to say, absolutely, I believe in the energy centers of our body because our heart literally beats, right? So
Hmm.
if you think of a drum, right, it literally has energy bouncing
Hmm.
off of it. That's
Yep.
not made up. That's not a made up thing, right? And the heart chakra is a real chakra. Same thing with your stomach. Your stomach is constantly, trying to digest things. It's moving. Like we're not these still beings. There are parts of our
Hmm.
body literally running like little machines. So
Yep.
that means energy is generating in those areas, right? When we speak, you can put your hand on your throat and feel the vibration. And
Yes.
so when someone says, "Oh, I don't believe in the throat chakra," you don't have to believe in it. It's
Hmm.
it's a
It's
literal
just
energy center.
real.
It's
It's energy.
literal. It's
Yeah.
literally animating off of you. And so some of us are very sensitive to these vibrations, right? It would blow
Hmm.
people's mind that I could be sitting in my house here and I can feel what is going on in your life where no matter where you are in the world. You don't even have to physically be around me because the how can I explain it?
Oh,
It's like
I know what
radio
you're
waves.
It's
right? We
just
don't see radio waves, but they
mm-hmm.
exist. And so
Yeah.
the same way animals can be very sensitive to that, some of
Mm-hmm.
us are very sensitive, but we're all, I just also want to say this, and then we're all sensitive in different ways. So
Mm-hmm.
you may not be able to feel things deeply. Like I said, you may be channeling. Now, if you are a channeler,
Mm-hmm.
meaning you're hearing information, you're having dialogue, again, we
Mm-hmm.
have to keep in mind mental health. I went to doctors to make sure that it wasn't schizophrenia.
Okay, that's good.
Not only that, for people that can hear information and knowing that mental health is a possibility, we also have to understand of who you're talking to, who you're
Mm-hmm.
channeling with, and this comes with self-awareness. We can't just be like, oh, I got to download. That's I don't even anybody that starts it from. I don't like to just look
Oh
at
yeah,
that
I hear that a
because
lot.
who are you getting this download from? I have no doubt that you got a download. Well, who's talking to
Mm-hmm.
you?
Ooh.
You
Ooh.
understand? Oh, my
Mm-hmm.
ancestors. Well, who are your ancestors?
It could be
So
bad ancestors.
or not even not bad, but maybe
Yeah.
ancestors that aren't operating from a high vibration, or maybe selfish, or
Mm.
may just not
Yeah.
know certain things, or right, which is why then you have guides, and then you have angels, and you have ascended masters, and then you have your own higher self, that higher version of you that sees everything that's going on. You're just a little piece of it, experiencing this
Mm-hmm.
version of itself here.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you getting that information from? And it's okay to start asking yourselves these questions as you're waking up. Where's this coming from? Right? Ask for proof, ask for evidence. Be
Mm.
clear when you channel. Like, well, I just want to make sure that I'm only connecting with my highest vibrational team that want the best for me, that are as accurate as possible, and have my best wishes. Like, you can be clear. And that changes the type of information you access. It will change the
Yes.
type of, because you could be open, but that means open to what? Open to who?
Yo, that is so true.
You
See, you're my
know?
kind of people. That's why I reached out to you. I felt it. But yeah, I mean, that's how I see, that's how I look at it now. Like, who talking to me? It's like, and sometimes you gotta say, no, I'm not listening to you. That's not real. Sometimes you gotta say that, like, especially if it's negative, like that's not real. Because if you can look at yourself and say, I don't feel that way,
Yeah.
it's not real. So
And sometimes
I
people are
like
just
that.
talking, right? When we say
Yeah.
negative, because sometimes I bring some heat, I bring some pepper to some of my words, and people will tell me, like, well, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say it that way. You know, and that's the ebb and flow of being in the spiritual world that
Mm.
and I think is also important, at least for me. We're not above being human, so I think we'll have I feel like even Jesus, right, wept, right? Even
Yeah.
he had to
Yeah.
go through some shit. So it's like
Hmm.
we have to give ourselves some grace in noting, like, yeah, sometimes maybe I seem a little low vibrational today. Today was a tough day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. The shadow exists. What am I gonna do? We
It
can't cast the
does.
shadow off as much as we want to. We can't heal
Hmm.
it into non-existence. It
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah. I agree on that. I mean, it's an ebb and flow. I call it because there's times where I'm just like low vibration. And I'm like, man, oh, this person did this and said this. And then I get, then you got to work on getting back to that higher frequency so you
Mm-hmm.
can continue to attract and keep your
Mm-hmm.
mind open to uh, answers and things you're looking for. So, I mean, that's true. Now, what is a saying or quote that you go by to help you
Mm.
get through life?
Mm. There's a couple, but the first is because I'm an Aries, so this is like it grounds me.
Ooh.
He who angers you conquers you, right? So meaning when
Mm,
people can kind of get the best of your, kind of what we were talking about with getting angry is almost like I'm letting someone else control my emotions. So learning how to just kind of be still within myself. Like, it's okay if it happens, but that's kind of something like I remind myself to step out of. If like I'm really upset about something, like, listen, he who angers you conquers you. Like, you, and to me, I just feel like I don't want anybody to have control over my emotions except for me. And that's something that
mm.
is a part of my learning and my journey, like patience. And then the other one, I would say the last one would be, this is something, my guys, it sounds schizophrenic, but my guys, they talk to me
No,
a
you're
lot,
fine.
give me a lot of advice. And one of the things they used to always say to me is, it's easy to have peace in a peaceful place, but try obtaining peace sitting on a pile of shit, right? So
Ooh.
but basically, and so they say that to me because some, like, especially being out here in Vegas is hot. I don't have a
Oh,
car anymore. So in the summertime, you can imagine it is brutal. In Vegas, it gets to be like up
oh
to
God.
110,
I mean,
117.
I
So
sweat out here.
I be cursing the heavens like, why me? But the thing is, and I think we all sometimes question, like, why do we choose to incarnate here? Why would I choose this struggle, or why? And my guys just, they say that to say to me, to remind myself that it's, I'm sure there are moments that our souls have had paradise and peace and chill,
Mm-hmm.
but to really challenge yourself and to really master peace is to put yourself in a non-peaceful situation and see if you can still tap into that and still anchor that and still hold that. And that is not easy, and it is challenging, but it's like that is the journey that we ask for, right? When we like, or even like with wisdom, like to say, oh, I'm a student of wisdom. Well, that means she's going to take us into some places that may be
Oh
very
man.
difficult,
Yeah. Yep. That is
you
so
know?
true.
So I try to remind myself of these little like tiddly bits they give me, so to speak, um, to just help me navigate through this plane, because this is a lot. Earth is a lot at
Man,
this
it's a
time.
lot. It ain't no joke. I mean, there's so much going on that I can't even make this up. And me being a
Yeah.
curious person, I'm just I soak in a lot because I'm always researching. I'm always trying to understand things. I
Hmm.
don't just go with what somebody say. I'm looking it up. That's just what I do.
So important. So
Because
important.
I gotta know for myself and see like what is, man, so many things I can say. Cause like, what is Illuminati? What is this? What is, I had to look it up because
Yeah, that rabbit hole is deep, girl. It's never
girl, that's
ending. I tell people, pitch a tent. You're gonna be here for a long time. It keep going. It keep
man, I mean, the
going.
stories I seen on that, and that's a whole nother topic, but we probably discussed that another day. But Illuminati is a whole
Hmm.
nother topic, but it's not what I thought it was that I was taught. That's all I can
Yeah.
say. It was something else. And I
Well,
looked it up,
that's
I
the
said,
thing with
oh,
this place, and these are the riddles of this place. Everything is a zip file here. There's
mm,
multiple meanings to one thing. There's multiple layers of one thing. There's multiple perspectives. Like I always tell people in readings, like like if me and you are standing looking at the exact same house, we'll still see different things. I may be looking at the
man,
window, you may be looking at the door. So when you first acknowledge that, right, that we're looking at shit from different perspectives, and then we walk around the property, and then we look inside at the property in different rooms, and that's like, I feel like life, it is full of all of these like layers, nooks, crannies, ups, and every angle you look, it almost changes what we're even looking at, and adds another layer. So that's why it's like I always say, like,
yeah.
even in your awakening, take your time. It's a
Mhm.
lifetime journey. There's
It's
a
a lifetime.
lot to cover.
It's so much to cover. It's not even funny. And then you start when you get down that rabbit hole, you start looking at movies different. People be like, "Don't watch movies and shows. It's not this and that." Yo, when I started getting into like the higher frequency and start tapping
Hmm.
in, I look at movies different. It's like a lesson in the movie. I be
Yeah.
seeing stuff and thinking, I'm like, yo, it's like to me, like, movies and shows and stuff. I be getting answers to questions I had, or
Because writers are channeling. Writers, most
yeah.
writers are channelers, and they don't realize it. You're getting, so they're writing right
Mm,
from their imagination,
mm-hmm.
and they don't realize that some of them are tapping into actual information that needs to be said to the masses. They're tapping into real realities that exist, right? The mythical
Yeah.
kingdoms and things like that. These are, some of these are, and that's why you resonate with certain things, or why some people are resonating with certain things in movies, because yeah, that's a collective message that just came through. It's
Man,
the layers
I'm
of
trying to
this
tell
place.
you, and some people, they be like, "Oh, don't watch a horror movie. The spirit will jump in your house," like Jeffrey Dahmer's story and stuff. I, I think that there's certain energies you can feel, but also I don't think, me personally, it's not going to affect me. Like if I have
That's
a
what's
night,
important. How
it's
you
not.
feel.
It's not gonna affect me because I'm like, okay, this is what happened. This was a Jeffrey Dahmer story. Was what happened. This is a story. Okay, now if you feel disturbed by it, don't watch it. But it's just a story. It doesn't mean that the
Well,
demon
can
gonna
I
jump in
say
your
this though?
house. Yeah.
It's a And this is where it comes to realizing the different levels of sensitivity for different people.
You're right. You're right.
So
Yeah.
for you, you can watch it without having any sense of emotional or mental attachment to it. You're not affected by it.
Yeah.
Whereas I know for me, I haven't watched, and I could watch crime stories, horror stories, things like that. I
Yeah.
didn't watch this because just for me, this is, and I think it's important that people realize you don't got to tell other people what to do, because some
Mm-hmm.
people, everything is not for everybody. So if it's not for you, then it's like you said, then it's not for you. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
But
Don't
I
watch.
think for some people who are very sensitive to energy, whether that's to spirit, meaning those who have passed away, or to energy of just this plane, meaning like Ryan Murphy. Some people just feel like some of the things because he
Oh,
does
Ryan.
American Horror, right? Some people just don't like his frequency as far as like what he puts into
It do be dark.
his stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so that's okay. And I say this for the real sensitive people out there, right? Because you hear it all the time, like, oh, you're being too sensitive, or no, you're really sensitive. So things are
Yeah. Don't
amplified.
watch it.
And
Yeah.
you
And
know,
that.
you can no, they can watch what they want. If you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling your spirit, I could watch that fine. If you're watching with anything, not even Jeffrey Dahmer, with
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
follow what feels right for you, and don't
Yeah.
feel like just because that's for you and not for another person. And I had to learn that the hard way. What's right for me may not be right for someone else. I would
Yeah.
project on other people like, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go
Oh
there.
man.
And you shouldn't do this. That's their journey.
And that's what I say too. Like at the end of the day, I couldn't jump in the comments and say, well, I could watch it. I didn't even finish Jeffrey Dahmer's story because I was like, yeah, I already know what's gonna happen here. But
Mm-hmm.
like my homeboy finished the whole thing. He wanted to see it. He loved it. He felt like he learned a lot about the story. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely don't feel like if I want to watch Exorcist of Emery Rose, then I'll watch it. But if Jody doesn't want to watch it, I'm cool with that too. You know, because I met some people like that where it'd be like just a crime show and they're like, oh, this messing with my energy. I can't watch this. I'm like, this is
Yeah,
crime.
because they can
You know,
feel like
so it's
you can feel spirit. This is so when someone's
yeah,
channeling someone that's dead, you don't have to be
yeah.
in a. I think people see the world so physically.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to wrap their mind around. You don't have to be around a physical location to experience spirit. So if
Don't.
you're watching
Yeah.
the story of a person who really died and you're a medium or you're clairsentient, it
Mhm.
is natural that you may feel like I'm channeling them or I'm tapping into them, or you've opened up something into your space, because people that are very sensitive are like moths to a flame. So when someone
Man.
says, oh, you can invite spirit in your house, they're probably talking about their own fears, about their own shit, you know,
Mhm.
because everybody is, like I said, different. But it's very
Yeah.
valid. Like it's not
It
so
is
much a
valid.
fear. It's
Yeah. And like I said, I believe it, because I'm like the left brain, right brain. So I'm always listening. Okay, if
mm-hmm,
you feel this way, okay, because I've had people where I'll cut this off right now. We'll find something more, you know,
mm-hmm.
something that you like. And so I'm always open to it. I never thought they were weird. I was like, I see what you're saying.
That's
Now for me,
awesome.
like the way I work, I'm an empath. So what gets me more than movies and stuff is people. I could feel
Mm-hmm.
somebody's energy and I don't know them, especially when I was in LA, I used to go to the bar and I would just sit there and read my book and stuff. And I have a cup of coffee and some Baileys in it. And I would just talk to people and I could, I could feel what's up with
Mm-hmm.
people. And I said, I get drained easily. So then I said, that's what gets me, and it's not that I don't like, I like talking to people, but then it's like, okay, certain people I could feel different things from them. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can only do a matter of time with you. I can only do a certain amount of time with that person. So it's like
Yeah.
that's the thing that I think empaths are dealing with, and you see a lot of this on TikTok now and other places. Like, well, how can an empath? I think some people have problems with dating. They couldn't go on a date anymore because they were tired. They just got so drained from the people, from the date, and it's just deep. So
But this is
you
why,
know,
as an empath, and I had to learn this, and I would suggest this to others. You got to learn to be okay in your own energy. Number one,
hmm
right? I'm sorry, my dog is. I'm sorry. One second. Sorry.
no,
Let me
you're
just get.
fine.
I'm so sorry. I'm
No,
hold
you're
on.
good.
Gotta get my dog out.
She got to get her dog out. She
Okay,
got some
right here.
great background going on here.
I'm sorry about that.
Very
Um,
nice background.
but what I was saying is that um, you got to learn as an empath. Not you got to, but I would suggest as an
No, yeah.
empath to learn to one, be so secure, and you'll learn this in Vegas. I think everybody learns this in Vegas. You
Mm,
learning how to be okay with being by yourself, being in your
mhm,
own energy. Because when you do that, which is difficult, because empaths, we're naturally at first, because there's stages of being an empath as you grow.
mm,
You start off kind of almost needing to feel seen, needing to feel understood, you want to understand what you're feeling, so you're asking it's
Mhm.
and not feeling understood. So
Mhm.
learning to be okay with yourself, like how you could say I'm an empath so confidently, then that means we almost can then learn the discernment of how to not feel people when we don't want to feel people, how to put ourselves around people who make us feel good, right? Learning to
Mhm.
choose to put ourselves in emotionally safe relationships. I had to
Yes.
learn that the hard way, that because we surround ourselves with people that can make us feel things, instead of realizing like we don't have to be around people that are emanating that type of energy. We could be
You
around
don't.
people that are emanating energy that makes us feel good and
Mhm.
confident and sane and seen. Um, but I think that comes in stages, because it is overwhelming being an empath.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it is possible, and the hope is there to be empowered and to use your empath almost like a compass that lets you navigate the places you need to be and the people you need to be around, right? And then you become empowered by it, because as soon as you feel something you don't
Mhm.
like, you can look around and be like, yeah, let me get my little coffee and Baileys and go over here, because
Yeah.
I choose peace
Yes.
and I trust my
Yes.
feelings. And then now you're tapping into like just goodness, and you're riding the wave of your empathy. That's what I
Yes.
think. That's what I had to
And
learn the
that's
hard way.
I'm happy you said that, because it's like so many empaths that don't know how to navigate it, and you kind of gave somebody a way to go through that situation, especially if you're working in an office and you got
Mhm.
to deal with the workers and all this. You can go in and be like, all right, and find your way to get navigate through that. So I like that, because now I just block and go away, or I'll just trying to, there's certain things I've learned how to do now because I grew up, I got older, and
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, I know what to do, and but I also know when I need to just take some time away, and I just go sit and do it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, we
know.
got to recharge for sure.
Because my solitude is amazing. My solitude is my best friend. And it's like, and I think
Mhm.
that's how it should be for friendships and relationships and even business partners, because even business partners can have some weird energy. You have to understand, like, okay, is this a good situation? Ask yourself that.
Mhm.
So I think that's important for people to learn. So yeah. Before we wrap it up, because I I don't want to keep you on
Yeah, I'm
forever.
sorry I dipped off
Um,
like that real quick. My
no, you're good. I'm
apologies.
not gonna keep you on
Okay.
forever. Because but the final last question. What are your thoughts on astral planing, and can anybody do it?
I'm laughing because I was gonna ask you what you think about that, but I'm like, well, no, because that's gonna open up a can of worms. Because I have very
Oh, I have a
controversial
story.
thoughts about the astral plane. So I'm gonna say this. I recognize that I'm probably saying this from a place of privilege, and I say privilege meaning like I can dip off into a meditative state very easily, and I know that that's not
Mhm.
something people can do easily. Which is why I'm always telling people like get into meditation, get into meditation. But I
Mhm.
say that to say there are different planes of existence where you can access information, spirit, energies, right? It's not just the physical plane and the astral plane. Like I said, you got the astral plane, the spiritual plane, meaning where people have passed. You have other realms, so many layers. And
Mhm.
with the astral plane specifically, astral projection, that specific method to get information, it requires you to basically energetically disconnect from your physical self, um,
Mm.
and literally travel on a plane where a lot of different type of energies can exist.
Mhm.
That's the first statement I want to make, right? So it's like a Ouija board. Whereas with a Ouija board, that door, which is a very real door, it accesses a plane where different types of energies can exist. Now, you also have like shamanic meditation, where you are with specifically with shamanic meditation and you travel, you're accessing the spiritual plane through nature. You're going through nature in your meditation, right? Meaning you're connected to something that's real, like a tree, the ocean, and that's your portal that you use. And so because you're using nature as a portal, I want to go. It's like it's still the same information, but it's like a different building. You're at the penthouse versus like maybe like on the third floor, but the same
Mm.
building.
Yeah.
Um, And so if you could put all that together, my thoughts are with the astral projection is it opens you up to the susceptibility. It doesn't mean it happens to everybody, but it opens you
Mhm.
up to be susceptible to different entities. It could, even psychic attacks. You may see certain things,
Mm.
and like I said, you're almost energetically, physically, your body is there, but you're off. Whereas with
Mm.
meditation, you can access the Akashic records. You can do, like I
Mm.
said, a shamanic travel. You can connect to your higher self. You can talk to your guides. You can get the information without leaving your body, right? And but I think some people think it's
Mm.
cool, right? I can leave my body and I can fly and I can
Yeah.
go visit Area 51 and I can, but see, you can do that with remote viewing. Remote viewing is a
Mm.
technique that allows you to see places remotely while you're still here. You don't have to use the astral plane. That's the point that I'm trying to make. There are
Ah, I get what you. Okay.
multiple ways
Mhm.
to have the same type of experience without it being so, I don't want to use the word dangerous because it's not about danger. I want to
Mm.
say without you being so susceptible, right, to
Mm.
certain things. It's like
Okay.
how we wore masks, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you can not wear a mask or you can wear a mask. Either
Mhm.
way, you with the mask, you're probably less susceptible to certain things. I don't want to use that example because I don't want to imply that masks.
Well,
I like, let's like
you know,
X that out because it's,
no,
listen,
don't exit out. Don't exit out
live
because
life and
it
do
is
what you want
true
to do.
though.
That's the point I want to
Because
make.
even before COVID, there was people that wore masks. So hey,
I
uh,
just feel like you got to do what's best for you, and I
yeah,
know that for a lot of people, astral projection is their jam. They do it before they go to bed. They da, 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 da,
mm.
da, da. I would recommend they see the movie like Insidious. You know, read some books and
Oh yeah,
acknowledge that
Insidious.
the astral plane has other entities on it that
Oh
live on the
man,
astral plane. You understand what I'm saying? So
that makes sense now. That makes sense now because I was well, I
I don't astral project. I rather, that's what I say, maybe it's privilege. I
me
rather
neither.
meditate and just ask, hey, what's up? And the information I get, I always look up information. That's the other thing. I look up information I get to make sure that it's real, that it makes sense, that it's
Yeah, yeah.
verifiable. But yeah, remote viewing, it's free. You can go to YouTube and look up techniques for remote viewing if you guys are
Mm.
really interested in, I'm going to be able to sit here and like see a place, see a time in history. Because
Mm.
remote viewing doesn't, you don't have to leave your body. Your consciousness is connecting to points in history or
Mhm.
points in moments. You don't got to leave. Astral projection, you're literally energetically leaving and then like going off, flying through the ether.
Yeah, man, that was. I met a guy that did that before, and I said, and I would be like, I used to hang out with him, and he out. It was crazy because whatever he was bringing in from this ethereal place, I felt it, and it's probably
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a dang on empath. I would be out with him. I'd be like, "What's this?" I would feel somebody next to me. He said, "Oh, that's that." It's like that all the time with me. I said, "Oh Lord." Well, when I wasn't around him, I didn't feel that. So I said, "You know what? I knew that he was into some really deep stuff, and he wasn't a bad guy or anything like that, but he
Yeah, that
just
doesn't mean you're
was
bad.
tapped. I know sometimes people be like, he
No,
was a
different
great
strokes for different
guy,
folks.
but
Nothing's
he
bad.
didn't know, and yep, nothing's bad, people, but he didn't know what he was bringing in. He didn't understand that part. He knew how to do it, but didn't know what he was bringing in.
And that's the key. If y'all gonna
Yeah.
open doors
Mhm.
and walk through, just know what you walking through into. And this
Mhm.
is why the ancients always say, meditate, go within, go within, go within. You know, my
Mhm.
guides told me this analogy, and I'll just leave you here with this because it's true, and I see this all the time because nobody wants to do it. So
Mhm.
God said that He wanted to hide the keys of the universe, right? And so He asked the angels, where should I hide these keys? And so one angel said, all right, I'll take them to the highest mountains. And God said, no, they'll climb it, they'll find it. And so another angel said, okay, no, 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 I'll bring it to the depths of the ocean. And God said, no, they're curious. They'll find a way and go down there and find it. Now another angel said, okay, I'll
Mhm.
bring it into the depths of this cave. God
Mm.
said, no, they are explorers. They will find it. And then so finally, an angel said, I know where to hide it. Let's put it inside of them. They'll never look there.
Mhm.
God said, okay.
Yep.
Right? So people underestimate the value of meditation and
Yes,
learning
they
that
really do.
skill because it opens up literally your door to
Mm-hmm.
yourself and all that you are and all that exists. It's like the movie Soul. You literally, did you ever
Oh,
see the
that's
movie
my
Soul?
movie. That's my
Okay, so you see
movie.
how the dude was turning the sign, but he was in a
Yeah.
whole nother dimension and plane and doing all of this. That
Yep.
is, it gives me goosebumps. That's what I do in meditation. You don't gotta astral project. He was already he was here. He
He
was
was already
here. He was
here.
at work.
Mm-hmm.
He was here at work, but
Mm-hmm.
his mind was able to do other things. That is the power of when you go within, when you can stop and you can do that. So, those are my thoughts on
Yeah.
astral projection. It's cool if that's what works for y'all. I don't rock with it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
okay if you do. That's not bad. I would say just be safe.
Yeah.
Learn different techniques and skills. If you're going to do it, really learn about it so that you can get back to your body quickly if you need to. You can navigate quickly. You can discern things that are talking to you. Oh, I met this person.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, he wanted to meet on the astral plane. I said, I don't meet on the astral plane.
Mm.
We can meet in our dreams, but I'm not meeting you on the astral plane.
Mm-mm.
We don't got to
Mm-mm.
do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we ain't gotta do
But
that,
that's
brother.
just me. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
me.
And that's fine, because I
Yeah.
realized at that point when I saw when I saw what was going on with him, I didn't want to deal with that. So I get
Hmm.
it. I get it. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on the
Oh,
Blockman's
thank you.
podcast. I had a blast. I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours, but I don't want to hold you up. And
I appreciate you.
we can always have you back on to chat with us. And please support her. Alexis, tell him where to follow you at.
Oh yeah, so I go by Starseed Lex. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Instagram is a great way to contact me, and my links are all there if you want to talk to me, get a reading, get a past life regression. I actually do past life regression. I help
Ooh.
people remember and access their soul memories. Like I said, I think the power is you being able to go within yourself and see versus somebody else telling you who you are. So yeah. Starseed Lex is where you guys can find me.
Nice. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in on the YouTube fam, the
Aw.
Twitch fam. Please subscribe. If you liked this episode, tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Just let us know what's up. And but thanks for listening anyway. And share if
Awesome.
you care. And be blessed, everybody. Make sure you subscribe. Go on BlueAlchemistPodcast.com on YouTube. And be safe, y'all. Peace.
Aw.